Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome. This is the global community for adult survivors of childhood trauma. Any form of trauma that happened in childhood in the form of abuse or neglect. If you are currently an adult and you're living with symptoms, which may range from different physical health related issues to relationship difficulties. Perhaps you're struggling with your finances. Perhaps you're struggling to get a job or keep a job. Perhaps you're struggling with an eating disorder or addictions, or maybe the relationship you have with your children or parenting your children is difficult, or you're struggling with self-harm behavior or suicidal ideation. Any of these types of things could be if you experienced abuse or neglect in childhood and you experienced adverse childhood experiences, you could still be living with these after effects in adulthood. And if that is you, that is what this YouTube channel is dedicated to. We are the global community of adult survivors of complex trauma. We're currently living with CPTSD symptoms that are directly linked or as a result of childhood maltreatment. And so if that is you, you are in the right place. You have landed in the right place. We've been showing up here together every single week for over 4 years. And I'm grateful that you've chosen to join us and to spend some time here with us. Tonight, we're going to talk specifically about the direct correlation and the direct link of CPTSD symptoms as a result of adverse childhood experiences. So I have some screen shares for you. I have some things that I would like to share with you. But first, as a reminder, this is not a place for crisis care. This is not a place for professional mental health care or medical health care. Please do seek trauma-informed support from licensed clinicians, from psychiatrists, psychologists who happen to be licensed, who are board certified, or someone that is in your local area that can help you, who happens to be trauma-informed. Trauma-informed care is key if you are living with CPTSD symptoms. And trauma-informed care is absolutely paramount and important if you are an adult who experienced childhood maltreatment. If you experienced abuse during childhood, neglect during childhood, those things could still be affecting you present day, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You could still be experiencing things from childhood. So crisis information is being put into the chat box right now. This is a live stream. Welcome. If you are here on a replay, welcome. I'm super excited that you've chosen to watch this replay. It will be about an hour long. We show up here and we talk together and hang out together for about an hour, hour and a half every single week. And we have been doing that, like I said, for over 4 years. So you are welcome here. Everyone is welcome here. And please be kind. Please be kind in the comment section. Please be kind in the chat box. Please be patient and kind and respectful to everyone that you encounter. You have no idea what load they are carrying, what burden they are carrying, what they are healing from, what they could be going through, what they could be managing right now, present day. We have no idea what other people are going through. So please choose to be kind, okay? If you're not kind, you'll be deleted, removed, not welcome back, blocked from the channel. And I don't want to have to do any of that. I don't want to have to be policing anything. I just want to show up here online and provide trauma-informed support to you, the global community of survivors. Okay, and if you happen to be a practitioner, thank you so much. Thank you to each and every one of you who refer these resources, refer these videos, who tell your patients and your clients where they can receive trauma-informed peer support once a week live here on YouTube or daily over on my website, cptsdfoundation.org. We provide daily recovery support. We have conversations just like this 365 days a year, every single day of the year. It's live, it's interactive. And if that's not something you're looking for, maybe you're looking for a book club where you can read trauma-informed resources, books about healing from trauma with other people like you who have lived through traumatizing experiences. We have a book club. Go to cptsdfoundation.org and you can look and you can click around. You can see the daily recovery support calls. You can see the book club. You can see all kinds of stuff that we're offering, and we're super excited. For practitioners and survivors alike, we do have a self-care cruise that is coming up in September of 2019. We will have more information posted on the website. This week, we have a person who is specifically dedicated to answering every single one of your questions about the self-care cruise. Her name is Rosie. She is a travel expert, and she will be serving you, this amazing community. If you're a practitioner, if you're a trauma survivor, whoever you may be, you're in the right place. You're here for a reason. There are so many different ways that you can connect with us and feel connected to other people. And if all of this is just too much and you're just like, you don't understand, Athena, I've been unemployed for 5 years and I'm struggling and I'm permanently disabled. I can't afford any of this stuff you're talking about. I can't afford $5 a month for a book club. I can't afford $50 a month to receive daily calls. I can't afford to go on a cruise. Who do you think I am, Athena? Well, there's good news. If you go to cptsdfoundation.org, there's free support. You can click on free groups and you just fill out the form. We have a vetting process. We have so much. There's so many of you. This channel reaches people in 180 countries. You are one of the people in one of those countries. And I'm passionate about helping you guys. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for choosing to be here. Your guys' support and just kind words, just the way that you show up here and you're kind to one another. You're here, you're in that chat box, you're supporting one another, you're welcoming one another. You show up in the comment section and you respond to people's comments. You provide an intelligent, beautiful discourse on different topics, trauma recovery related, everywhere here on this YouTube channel. And I have hundreds of messages from all of you, just being kind to one another. And so I just want to say thank you. I'm humbled to do this work. I'm grateful to do this work. Thank you. Poppy is going to be over there helping out in the chat box and posting all the information. If you have a hotline that you need to dial, there's all kinds of hotline information in the chat box right now. If you have a question, you can always tag Matt and he will make sure that I see that question. You can also tag Poppy and she will make sure that I see that question. That's how you get your questions answered, is if you tag someone. And we are still looking for moderators. We're looking for more moderators. We want people like you to be part of the mod squad, as Malta says. So each and every one of you are just such a huge part of my life, and I'm just grateful for you. So if you're interested in being a moderator on the channel and, you know, having the ability to block people who happen to be trolls, especially potato trolls, or anyone who just happens to be being unkind, or you want to help moderate comments or questions, then let Matt know, let Poppy know. Go to cptsdfoundation.org, fill out one of the little contact forms and just let us know. We love having you here every single week. It's just amazing. Can you tell that I'm excited to be here? I've been away. I was traveling. I was in Columbus. As you guys know, I woke up, I was sick. I was trying to manage it all. I was traveling. I was on a 6-hour time difference and flying, 10, 11 hours just back and forth, trying to get to the places I needed to go. But I did get an opportunity to meet up with you guys, a few of you guys, and hang out and just sit in a hotel lobby by a fireplace and just chat about all things trauma recovery and, narcissistic abuse and CPTSD and, different therapeutic modalities and art journaling and book clubs and self-care crews and, the daily calls, just all this stuff. We got to go have coffee together. We got to hang out. We got to share a meal together. It was truly magical for me. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for just your emails, your support, your voicemails, your kindness, your understanding when I'm like, I can't record a video tonight. I'm sick. I need to take a nap and I have places to go and I have to jump on a flight, and just thank you. So I'm just super extra grateful to be here this week because I've missed you. I've missed my home. I've missed being here in my own little environment, having these conversations with you because you guys are a huge part of my life. So adverse childhood experiences, the direct connection of adverse childhood experiences with CPTSD symptoms in adulthood. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do a screen share. I have 2 screen shares for you. I actually have a definition of CPTSD and complex trauma in case, you know, you're new here and you haven't been here for 3 or 4 years. And you're like, what is this? And then we'll talk about adverse childhood experiences. We'll talk about the truth about adverse childhood experiences and how it affects our physical body and how it affects our minds and how it affects our relationships and our finances and our anxiety level and how it affects our hygiene, how it affects everything. And then we'll talk about how prevalent adverse childhood experiences are and just the ways that we can connect and different resources. If you're curious about adverse childhood experiences and you're new to this whole, what's an adverse childhood experience? It sounds, you know, I don't know if my childhood was adverse. It was normal, just like everybody else's. I mean, everybody struggles in childhood, don't they? Like what I lived through was nothing special. It's not like I need a whole website, adverse childhood experiences. You know, perhaps you thought that maybe it wasn't like a good situation growing up, but you weren't sure if it was considered abuse, or you were told it wasn't, or nobody overtly abused you. They just didn't pay attention to you, or they didn't validate you, or they didn't notice you, or they didn't provide a safe space for you, or they were just unkind, and that's not necessarily abuse. Like whatever. If you're curious and you landed on this video, it's for a reason. So go to acestoohigh.com, acestoohigh.com, and there's a little 10 question questionnaire about adverse childhood experiences. If you experienced any of them, how many did you experience? I scored a 10. You know, a lot of the people here in our community scored a 9. The last time we had one of these videos, the most common score, I believe, was a 6, between a 6 and a 9. Somewhere between a 6 and a 9 was the most common here in this community on this YouTube channel. And there were a few of you that emailed me and said, I scored a 10. Oh my gosh. You know, this is one of those few times in life when you're like, I don't want to score a perfect 10. Hello, overachiever, right? So go to acestoohigh.com. Take the little questionnaire if you want. Open up another browser. Pause this video if you want to, unless you're here and you want to interact. But if you're here on a replay, perhaps we can link it down below in the description section. https://acestoohigh.com, and you'll find out what your ACEs score is. And there's also a place to connect with others just like you. You can go to my website, cptsdfoundation.org, but ACEs has a website where you can connect. And as you're probably noticing, the website would obviously be called ACEs Connect. So there is this, I believe it's ACEs Connect, or is it ACEs Connection? Let me just double check, make sure. I have it right here. It's acesconnection.com. So there'll be a link over on the foundation website for you to find easily access ACEs as well. And it's something I'm obviously really passionate about. It's what sparked this entire foundation. It's because of learning about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. It's because learning about the impact of adverse childhood experiences that I started this foundation to begin with, and that I was so passionate about doing this work. It's why I show up here every week for over 4 years to be with you guys, because what happened in childhood doesn't stay in childhood. What happens in childhood affects our organs. It affects our physical body. It affects our mind. It affects our relationship. It affects our finances. It affects the way we raise our children. It affects the way we show up in the world, the way we show up at work, the way we can get a job or not get a job, the way we can keep a job or not keep a job, the way that we are able to feel feelings or not feel feelings. Maybe we're numb. It affects the way we think about ourselves, that overactive inner critic that makes us feel like we're an imposter and like we don't belong and like we're just this big fraud all the time. If they really, really, really knew me, they would never like me. If they really knew who I really was on the inside, they would never accept me. All those things, that comes from adverse childhood experiences. It's all connected. It's all connected. So let's pause for a moment and let's look at a screen share. Oh, how about my hair tonight, guys, right? Can you tell I haven't washed my hair in like a few days? Don't tell anybody. Let's go ahead and look at a screen share on an actual definition of what is CPTSD, what is complex trauma. And then that way, there it is. Here we go. Open with preview. Here we go. So here we go. Just so you know what it is that we're even talking about. Can you see that? Do you know what complex post-traumatic stress disorder is, also known as CPTSD, also referred to as complex trauma, also referred to as developmental trauma? Are you familiar with all that? So let's make this bigger, shall we? There we go. So complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a psychological disorder that can develop in response to prolonged, repeated experience of interpersonal trauma in a context in which the individual has little or no chance of escape. That is CPTSD in a nutshell. So if you're thinking what I'm thinking, you're like, well, that sounds like anything that happens in childhood. Because in childhood, can we really escape? I mean, if we are a child, then we are entrusted to the adults around us. And what if the adults around us were raised in an environment that was unhealthy, abusive, neglectful? There wasn't enough food. Maybe one of their family members was incarcerated. Maybe there was domestic violence. And as a kid, they saw their mom and dad fighting a lot. And maybe the mom was being threatened either physically or verbally. Maybe there were other situations that were going on in childhood, right? And then what they do, unless they break the cycle, which we can break the cycle, breaking the cycle is amazing. Breaking the cycle is always the goal. I broke the cycle. Many of you guys have broken the cycle, right? Many of you have contacted me and you've let me know that you've broken the cycle of adverse childhood experiences. You've broken the cycle of intergenerational family abuse. You've broken the cycle of trauma in childhood. You've broken the cycle of domestic violence. You've broken the cycle of poverty. You've broken the cycle of your family members not having an opportunity to pursue an education. You've broken the cycle of not being able to take care of yourself, have safety in your life. So complex trauma is what results if all those types of things go on during childhood and there's not really a way out because you're a child, right? If you're a child, we can't get out of those situations. We're entrusted to those adults. So that's what goes on. That's the direct connection with CPTSD symptoms and adverse childhood experiences. No, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go a little bit deeper. That's just a definition of what even is complex PTSD. What is CPTSD? What is developmental trauma? What is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, right? That's what it is. Now, how does it connect to adverse childhood experiences? How does it connect? Let's talk about what are adverse childhood experiences? What are the different types of adverse childhood experiences? What's the truth about adverse childhood experiences? Let's talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the prevalence. Okay. And then I'm going to take your questions. Questions will be open for 6 more minutes. Please send in your questions, tag Poppy or tag Matt, and then I will do my very best to answer your questions on the topic of adverse childhood experiences and how they connect with CPTSD symptoms. And I will do all of that tonight on this video. You will leave at the end of this video with your question answered, if possible, unless there's a bajillion questions, which every time I've ever done a video on the topic of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, it usually ends up being a 2-week or a 3-week video, because there are so many questions and there's so many people out there who have experienced, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 adverse childhood experiences on the ACEs questionnaire over on aces2high.com. So, by the way, this isn't a sponsored video. Like, I'm not getting paid to say all of this. This is just something I'm very, 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 very passionate about. So this isn't sponsored or anything. This is just me sharing my passion with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and share right now a screen share about what are ACEs? What is the truth about adverse childhood experiences? And then we're going to talk about the prevalence. Okay. Let me know if you guys can see this screen share. How are you guys feeling? How are you feeling tonight? It's really good to be here with you. I'm like overjoyed to be home, obviously. You could probably tell because I'm talking like, a mile a minute. There we go. Oops. Let's see. There we are. So can you all see that? So this is the truth about ACEs. So what are they? What are ACEs? ACEs are adverse childhood experiences. And they're in different categories, right? The different types of adverse childhood experiences include abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction. So sometimes there is physical abuse. Over in the left-hand column, right here, this is where we're at. We're in the abuse category. Many of you fall into this column. Notice there are 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That links up, obviously, to aces2high.com, what I told you about. And so 100% of the people who are here on this YouTube channel, 5,000 of you in 180 countries, identify with abuse or neglect or household dysfunction. At least one of these. Was it physical abuse? Was it emotional abuse? Was it sexual abuse? Let's go over here to neglect. Let's go here. Did you experience physical neglect, where perhaps you didn't have parents when you came home from school? Perhaps you had a key to the house. You were really young, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years old. You just sort of came home and there was nobody there. And you needed to learn how to cook for yourself or do all the chores or do all the yard work. There wasn't really an adult physically around. Perhaps they were working because both parents needed to work and you needed to take care of yourself and perhaps your siblings. That's physical neglect. And then there's emotional neglect. So what emotional neglect is if you didn't feel fully supported emotionally, like if you weren't able to communicate your feelings or your needs to another person because they were perhaps emotionally unavailable. And what emotionally unavailable means is you could be in the same room with someone and they feel a million miles away. Now, when we're in an adult relationship, like let's say we're talking about my husband and I. Let's say my husband is watching a football game and I'm excited to tell him about an email I received from one of our community members talking about a win that they experienced or how thankful they are that they found our website or that they learned some new things through a book that they were reading. And my husband isn't really there because emotionally, physically, he's there with me, right? Physically, he's here with me. in the room, but emotionally, he's watching the football game. So adverse childhood experiences, we're not talking about a one-off event. We're not talking about parents who watch a football game on Sundays, and so they weren't there to listen to you talk about your friends or what's going on. We're talking about the majority of the time. So the majority of the time in your childhood, was there someone physically present when you came home from school? Or when you were home? Or when you were around? Like, did you have an adult around you? And if they were there, were they emotionally engaged? Did they ask you how you're doing? I used to do this thing with my son where every day when he would come home from school or when I would pick him up from daycare or after school care, where, you know, he went there to do homework and play games with his friends, where there were adults physically and emotionally present with him when he would get there from school, like right after school while I was working, because I was a single mom. But whenever I would pick him up, one of the first things I would ask him in the car or as we were walking to the car when I would sign him out was, how was school today? What were your highs and lows? And so he knew that I would want to know about the high point of his day. And I would also want to know about the low point of his day. And then I would ask follow-up questions in the event that he knew I was going to ask those questions and he just sort of prepared answers because he didn't want to engage and he was just sort of checked out and maybe he was really struggling and didn't want me to know. So I would always ask follow-up questions such as, so who'd you eat lunch with today? Were there any new kids? Did you guys welcome any new kids in school today? Did you play intramurals? Was there did you have PE class? What'd you play for PE? Or I would say, did you take any tests at school today? Or did you have a lab? How was your lab work today? Or who did you sit next to today at lunch? Or did you walk with anyone after school to go to the bus? Or, you know, what was the homework that you struggled with the most today? I would ask follow-up questions. So that's that's the opposite of physical and emotional neglect. The reason I didn't go into great detail about abuse over here in this column is because I think many of you, if not all 5,000 of you, you're very familiar with abuse. This channel focuses on helping adults heal from abuse that happened in childhood. And so I didn't really need to go into great detail about that. But neglect is a little bit more, obscure and not often talked about. And it can seem as though the devastating after effects of it would pale in comparison to some sort of abuse that's overt. But then over here, this is another section which makes up the second half of the ACEs study, and it's just as damaging. These things are all equally as damaging to the child's human psyche. Think about your young brain, right? Think about how young and neuroplastic your brain is. It's so malleable. There are no boundaries in place when you're a child. So anything that is said to you is received as truth. If you are told when you're a child that you're dumb, stupid, fat, ugly, clumsy, unwanted, then there aren't any boundaries up. When you're a child, you don't know to be vigilant against any. There's no such thing as true and untrue. You begin to believe those things about yourself because someone said them to you, unless you were taught otherwise. So when I was told by my father, when I was young, that I was chubby or stupid, or he would call me dummy, or he would tell me I was clumsy or fat, or just joke around with me, even in a joking tone. That's what I really believed about myself. When I was told by my mother, when I was really, really young, that I was annoying and that everything I talked about was just drivel. And I thought she meant dribble, like I was dribbling, like I was drooling, like spit out the side of my mouth. But drivel is actually another word used for pointless conversation. Everything you say is just pointless. You're so annoying. And I was also told by my family of origin, both of my parents, mostly my mother, and then some of the people on my dad's side of the family as well, that I wasn't even supposed to be born, that they should have had an abortion. I knew I should have had an abortion. And an abortion, as you know, that's when, you die when you're in utero. You cease to exist when you're just an embryo. And so for a child, to raise their hand and say, what's abortion? What's this? And to have the teacher be like, where did you learn that word? And be like, my mom. I mean, that's a really, that's dysfunction right there, right? That's household dysfunction. So let's look at the different types of household dysfunction. So I need my glasses and I don't have my glasses. So I'm going to have to zoom in if that's okay, because I can't see this very well, you guys. So we're going to talk about, oops, oh no. There we go. 3 types of ACEs, but I'm going to zoom in specifically on, oops, there we go. The 3 types that I'm going to zoom in specifically, or the 5 types, sorry, are mental illness, incarcerated relatives, mother treated violently, substance abuse, and divorce. So these are what's called family or household dysfunction. So were your parents divorced? Then you mark off 1 on the ACEs study. Was your mother treated violently? Did anyone in your home participate in substance abuse? Did you have a parent who was in jail or prison? By the way, you don't get to delete your point if it was only jail. I honestly thought I scored a 9 because my dad was only in jail. He wasn't in prison. But apparently jail counts as being incarcerated. So I scored a perfect 10. And then, of course, there's mental illness, which we talk a lot about on this particular YouTube channel. So that makes up the 10 of the 10 questions that are talked about on the acestoohigh.com ACEs study. So we're going to talk on the next slide about how prevalent ACEs are, and we're going to go into this one here in great detail. So I'm going to zoom in on what impact, oops, just kidding, on what impact adverse childhood experiences have. Okay, so what impact do adverse childhood experiences have? As the number of adverse childhood experiences increases, so does the risk for negative health outcomes. So 0 ACEs has 0 negative health outcomes. And then it goes up. 1 ACEs, 2 ACEs, 3 ACEs, 4 plus ACEs. So possible risk outcomes for someone who experiences adverse childhood experiences, all the ones that we just talked about above, abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction. So the way it can affect you behaviorally is that you tend to lead a sedentary lifestyle, meaning that you have a lack of physical activity. You lead a sedentary lifestyle. You have a lack of physical activity. Okay? The next is smoking. That's self-explanatory. The next is alcoholism. Self-explanatory. The next is drug use. Self-explanatory. And the next is missed work or unemployment. Also self-explanatory. So the next way that adverse childhood experiences affect us is through our physical and mental health. So just like leading a sedentary lifestyle and you lack physical activity, one of the dangers of that is that you can become severely or morbidly obese. You can gain weight at a rapid pace and then be unable to lose that weight, which leads to type 2 diabetes. And even if you don't develop type 2 diabetes as a result of adverse childhood experiences and leading a sedentary lifestyle, being obese has other side effects other than type 2 diabetes. Leading a sedentary lifestyle and becoming obese will affect your joints and your muscles. Your knees might ache. You may be more prone to breaking bones. Your clothes might not fit the way you want them to fit, and so it can cause you to have low self-esteem. You can think poorly about yourself. You can develop an eating disorder or body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, And I've recorded videos on those topics as well. And I'm going to be recording more topics and doing courses on that type of topic as well, on eating disorders and body dysmorphia. It can also lead, adverse childhood experiences can also lead to depression, can also lead to suicide attempts or suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideation. Adverse childhood experiences can lead to sexually transmitted diseases, STDs. Adverse childhood experiences can lead to heart disease, cancer, stroke, COPD, also known as chronic pulmonary disorder. Oh gosh, what is it? Chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, I think is how you say it. And then, like I said earlier, broken bones. So those are some ways that it can affect you negatively. So here we go, and we want to talk about how prevalent are adverse childhood experiences, okay? So if we're talking about abuse, let's look at abuse by itself. Physical abuse. Now remember, I want to remind you that these are only reported cases, okay? When you don't report because you're shamed for reporting, then they don't show up on studies. So these are only people who have reported. And these are peer-reviewed research, published studies through Kaiser Permanente, which, as you know, is a main healthcare provider in the United States. So 28.3% of the people reported physical abuse, 20.7% reported sexual abuse, 10.6% reported emotional abuse. And these are a percentage of study of the participants that experienced specific adverse childhood experiences. So specifically physical abuse, specifically sexual abuse, specifically emotional abuse. Moving down to neglect, 14.8 people reported emotional neglect, which I find very telling and very interesting compared to only 9.9%, which is still rather high, of physical neglect. So experiencing emotional neglect is something that was reported more, and it has also been reported to be even more devastating to our lives, both relationally and physically and mentally, over the long term if you experienced emotional neglect during childhood. So we're going to move down to household dysfunction, and we're going to talk about household substance abuse, parental divorce, household mental illness, mother treated violently, and incarcerated household member, which, remember, that does include jail. It's not only prison. So of the 17,000 people who participated in the adverse childhood experiences study, 26.9% reported that there was substance abuse in the household while growing up. 23.3% reported that their parents were divorced. 19.4% reported that there was someone living with mental illness in their household while growing up. 12.7% reported that their mother was treated violently in front of them, or they had knowledge of their mother being treated violently. And 4.7% reported that there was someone in their household growing up who was either in jail or prison. So you can see the pie chart breakdown here. There are only 36% of the population of the 17,000 participants that did not endure some sort of adverse childhood experience. So, as you can probably guess, you guys know me really well if you've been on this channel any length of time, and you know that this type of study is something that really rings some bells for me. It's something that I pay really close attention to, and that is near and dear to my heart. Oops. Oh, I just kicked something over. Whoops, hopefully nothing falls. I had this entire big package that just arrived of these little tea light candles to put in like my little candle holders that I have, like this. And then I just kicked it over and it almost knocked over my lamp. Whoops. Don't you love live video? So many of you know that studies like this are something that really, like I said, it really lights me up. It gets me going, because I know from personal experience, from hearing from you guys, what a difference it makes to know that you're not alone, that there are people out there who have experienced what you have experienced. And so when I read a story like this and I see just the prevalence, not only is it very, very validating, but it's an opportunity for me as a leader in this community, a leader of a community filled with adults who experienced adverse childhood experiences, who lived through ACEs. We are a microcosm of what's going on around the world. And so I realize to the core of my being how validating it is to see those numbers that I just shared with you in black and white. The first time I saw a presentation similar to this, or just someone sharing something with me about adverse childhood experiences, all these light bulbs were going off for me. And I think one of the most common thoughts that I was thinking in that particular time in my life was, you mean there's a word for this? Like, this isn't just like my family? Like, this happens to other people? Other people experience the type of stuff that I experienced? It was unbelievable to me. I couldn't even fathom it. It was just so interesting. So anyway, I just want you guys to know you're not alone. And I also want you to know that there's hope. I was sharing during our daily call today with our community. I was sharing that I just celebrated my 45th birthday. And I've never felt more alive. I've never felt healthier. I've never felt as fulfilled and happy and joyful and grateful and like I'm really living out my purpose. I've never experienced it to the degree that I'm experiencing it right now. And I just turned 45 years old a couple days ago. So, and my son just turned 26. So there is hope, you guys. If you've watched any of our earlier videos, you know that I literally had a traumatic break with reality, which mimics a psychotic break. Only I didn't have a psychotic break. Apparently I had a traumatic break with reality. And that was only 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. And I had already at that point been healing for almost 13 years from what I thought originally was a normal childhood. You know, I didn't realize that there were deep, 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 deep issues that needed to be dug up and uncovered and healed and not stuffed down and not numbed out and not avoided completely. You know, we talk a lot on this channel about not numbing, stuffing, and avoiding. I was a mess. I was a mess. My relationships were all failing. I was in the midst of, you know, not necessarily eating disordered behaviors, but I think that I was over-exercising. I was over-exercising and I may have been restricting calories. So that's self-harm. So I was caught in eating disordered behavior. I had severe body dysmorphia. My relationships were all failing. I was enmeshed with my most important relationship in my entire life, which was the relationship with my son. I was not a mother, as he calls it, as he says, I was not a mother, I was a smother. And I was smothering him as a result of the hypervigilance I was experiencing, just wanting to make sure that I was doing it right. I didn't want him to end up like me. I didn't want him to experience life the way I experienced it. So I was smothering him in an effort to make sure that I communicated love effectively to him, for him to know that he was so loved and he was so wanted and so treasured and so cherished and cared for, and that he was safe and liked and appreciated. And, you know, I was just like, I was a smother, as he calls it. So, my relationships were all failing. I was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life, seriously. And I was truly in the midst of a traumatic break with reality. I had audible hallucinations, visual hallucinations, and I was suicidal, actively suicidal. And I reached out for help. I had to. And here I am, less than 5 years later, because I'm doing the work every day. I'm here doing the work every day. I'm reading books. I am watching videos. I'm listening to podcasts. I am putting myself through school. I'm taking all these continuing education classes. I have received multiple certifications in trauma-informed care and being a certified family trauma professional, and all of the continuing education units that board certified psychologists and psychiatrists and licensed clinical social workers and marriage and family therapists, like all those CEUs that they take every single year, not what they had to do to get their bachelor's or their master's, but all the continuing education units. Like, I have spent, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit how much time I've spent, probably several hundred hours just learning about what it is that was done to my brain, learning what it was that is going on with my body, learning how to heal, learning how to have healthy relationships, learning how to establish and maintain healthy boundaries with toxic people and 100% of the people in my life, learning what a safe person is and what a safe person isn't, learning that there are different levels of toxic when we're talking about people. Not everybody is over here in the black and not everybody's over there in the white. You know, in fact, 100% of the world's population is somewhere in the middle in the gray. So it takes a really huge amount of discernment and wisdom and experience and repping it out day in and day out, doing the work every single day to heal and realizing that we're worth it. So I've just never felt more grateful. I've never felt more fully alive. I've never felt more equipped to help you and help our community and provide resources. Not only book clubs and free groups and daily calls and cruises and books and resources, but I mean, go at your own pace, online courses and quotes and resources and access to, you know, interviews with experts in the field of trauma. And, you know, I just have never felt more happy to be alive than I am today, like present day, right now. So it could be as a result of the fact that I got away for a few days for my birthday and I was just blissfully, completely unplugged from all social media. Or I could just be healing. Let's be real. I'm healing. Yes, it helps to get away and go hang out and do some fun stuff for your birthday, but deep in the core of my being, I feel grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for my team. I'm grateful for people working behind the scenes to help disseminate the information. And I feel grateful for being able to create content for you guys. I feel equipped to be able to help people more effectively and consistently without burning out. So you guys, it's possible. Healing is possible. It really, really is possible. If I'm able to communicate any of that with you, I'm hoping that you know that I'm just speaking from the heart. It's possible. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look at your questions and I'm going to do my best to answer your questions. And if we run a little bit long or we need to go to a second week of talking about adverse childhood experiences, then we'll go to a second week if that's fine with you guys. So really quickly, I want to say thank you to those of you who sent in questions, and that would be Hunter, Desi Pink, Joey, Heroes Don't Wear Capes, Vi, Nexus, Francesca, And I think that's it. If I left you out and you sent in a question, please, please, please let me know in the chat box. And if I missed it somehow, then if we end up doing a week 2, and if you guys ever want me to do more videos on adverse childhood experiences, I come alive when I get to talk about ACEs because it just makes sense. It frames everything in a way that I'm able to actually understand what it is that happened to me. And I know that if it lights light bulbs up for me, then it likely will. I'm not special. I'm not a special snowflake. It probably lights up some light bulbs for you guys. You have those light bulb moments when you're just like, yeah, I get it. Oh my gosh, I get it. You know? So Hunter says, I am struggling with stronger body memories that cause a shame hangover and staying composed during this. So first of all, Hunter, I'm so sorry that you are experiencing this. I want to ask you specifically if you have been able to discover movement in a way that feels safe in your body. Are you able to increase your serotonin levels? Are you able to increase the chemicals that happen in your brain, like people that get like runner's high? Have you been able to discover movement in a way that feels safe in your body where you can move and in a cardiovascular way or even in a strength training type way? Maybe it's trauma sensitive yoga. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's going for a swim. Maybe it's lifting weights. Maybe it's just going for a jog or going for a run or going for a hike. Or have you been able to do anything that increases your heartbeat and engage your body? And the reason I'm asking this is because, as you know, I know many of you guys know this, but I know Hunter knows this. He's my recovery buddy. So as per Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps the score. The body remembers. So our bodies hold on to trauma in a way that if we have unprocessed childhood trauma, certain areas of our body will activate when we are triggered into a memory. And so if you're having stronger body memories that are causing you a shame spiral, or as you call it, a shame hangover, I would choose for me any day of the week to trade in my shame hangover for a vulnerability hangover. And a vulnerability hangover is something that you get when you share verbally or through expressive modalities or through movement a way to loosen up what's going on the inside. What this can look like is expressive art, drawing. I know you you color. If you're able to find a way to discover movement in conjunction with the expressive modalities, and then possibly work with some sort of a therapist, a trauma-informed practitioner that you can share your experiences with, someone who will believe you and tell you, yes, I believe you that happened to you. And maybe someone, I don't know, Hunter, if you have checked out Peter Levine's website called somaticexperiencing.com, or is it .org? somaticexperiencing.com or .org. I can't remember. All you have to do is Google Peter Levine. He wrote a really good book called, I think it's called Waking the Tiger Within. And Pete Walker actually talks a lot about body memories as well. But if you're able to discover movement in a way that feels safe for your body and doesn't cause you pain, then it could unlock some of those and not, you see, your body's holding on to these memories and there's no place for them to go because there's no one validating them. But if you're able to work with a therapist who does somatic experiencing, or in conjunction with the art, with the expressive modalities and the art that you do, and I know you play video games and I know it's great, and I know that, you know, you and I are recovery buddies and we share whenever we see each other online, and you're here every single week and you're in the groups and you're participating in your trauma recovery journey. But I guess my main question to unlock all of this and to tie it all together and to help you move forward so that you're not feeling stuck or like something's holding you back is for you to discover a type of movement that feels safe in your body. I did a video with my girlfriend Claudia, who lives here on the island of Maui with me, and it's on this YouTube channel, and it's called Discovering Movement. And it's a video that could be triggering for some people because I raise my voice, and I know that I talk normally, like usually I talk in just this conversational tone unless I'm getting all mama bear, and I'm like rawr, or if I'm getting really, emotional, and then sometimes I cry, but rarely do I yell, on this channel. And so it can be very triggering. So just trigger warning. But there is a video called Discovering Movement, and it's the thumbnail. It should say like Discovering Movement or something, or maybe it says like movement. I have no idea. But you'll see my face. And I think I have my hair tied up in a ponytail. And then you'll see my girlfriend, Claudia, who is the founder of Yoga Fit. And she travels around the world globally. I think she's in Australia right now, but she teaches other yoga teachers how to become trauma informed. So it's a really good video. It could help you, Hunter, if you're open to it. So I know you participate in your own trauma recovery quite a bit. So you're probably open to it. And maybe you've already seen the video and you're kind of like, didn't like that video. But that's what I would recommend. So I hope that's helpful. Desi Pink says, my hubby said he read that sometimes when going through recovery phases from CPTSD, the physical pain actually gets worse for a while. I have been down for 2 years. Is this normal? So there's this little meme, like one of those like some e-cards meme with the like ladies from the 50s. And it's like this pale color of pink or yellow. And I think it's this mom talking to like a little girl, and it says, normal is a setting on a washing machine, darling. like what is normal, right? But the fact that you are experiencing physical pain for 2 years straight says to me that there is some unresolved childhood trauma that could possibly be unlocked. Similarly, like I was sharing with Hunter, have you found a way to discover movement in a way that feels safe to your body? Are you able to go for walks or go for a swim or do anything that increases those chemicals in your brain that sends messages to areas of your body like, hey, we're working on this. We're physically working on this, And the reason I'm asking you, Desi, and you, Hunter, this same question and sort of recommending the same thing is because for me, prior to me losing my shit in 2013, I had done 2 half marathons and a full marathon. And I was like, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like, I'm active. I'm very active. But if we're being real, like that was 50 pounds ago. Like I've gained 50 pounds. And I injured my hip during the full marathon. Physical pain is a trigger for me because it reminds me of the physical pain in childhood, which also triggers the emotional pain, which also triggers the neglect, which also triggers that there was no way out. And then like the crazy making of it all, when you try to say something, then they tell you should just be grateful. And so I struggle personally to discover movement in a way that feels safe inside my body. Because if I start moving in a way that feels like I might lose some weight, then something in my mind triggers like, if I lose weight, then I'm going to receive the same type of attention from other people the way I used to. And that attention from other people thinking that I was physically attractive is very triggering for me. I have been in places as numerous as I could possibly share with you, everywhere from on a beach to in church, and had people staring at my breasts or at my butt or at my legs or at my stomach, because my stomach was very flat, and or just my skin or my hair, or like just staring at my physical presence. And which is so weird and crazy making and like strange in my brain, because I have body dysmorphia, which means, and of course I was told my whole life that I was ugly and stupid and fat and disgusting and whatever. And so I don't see myself in that way. And it wasn't like it was a compliment. It wasn't like I was like, oh, yay, I want that person to notice me and think I'm physically attractive. That's what I want. Like, that wasn't what I was looking for. You know what I mean? Like, so I struggle to lose this weight that I've gained because I honestly, intuitively believe that there are younger parts of me, unprocessed childhood trauma, that believes that if I would have been heavier, then the abuse wouldn't have happened because I was exploited. I was sent out to be on like dates with people who were grown men, and I was a little girl who was like 13 years old, or younger. And then, you know, other things, you know, taken places week after week after week after week where there were like grown men and I was a little girl, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I honestly believe that those younger parts of me, that unprocessed childhood trauma parts, those parts are still healing. And I don't think they feel that the physical attention that I get when I look like really good, like thin and fit and athletic and trim, flat stomach, you know, muscle tone. I honestly think that that there's unprocessed childhood trauma parts of me that just would prefer to just stay the way I am now because I don't get any physical attention from anybody. And that feels good. That feels safe. So the reason I'm asking you, Desi, and you, Hunter, if you've been able to discover movement in a way that feels safe inside your body, because I struggle to discover movement and experience movement in a way that feels safe inside my body. I have to be really, really, really mindful and fully present and very careful in the way that I experience movement. Because unless I work really hard with my EMDR therapist on creating new neural pathways around movement and losing weight and being physically attractive, I'm going to continue to either recluse and hide from the world or sabotage my health. It's just what happens. It's the way it's manifested itself. So, ooh, it's storming out. It's pouring. Can you guys hear the rain? Oh my gosh, it's really loud. I hope it doesn't sound horrible in the microphone. Eee. Okay. So I hope that's helpful, Hunter and Desi. Joey says, how come when I go through a downhill slide of symptoms of CPTSD, each time the downhill slide is a little bit longer than the time before? So there could be several different reasons that this is happening, Joey. So depending on what the downhill slide is involving, let's say, for instance, your one downhill slide was involving feeling invisible. And so you had some self-hatred and some overactive inner critic, and you had all these things on your to-do list that you needed to do, but you couldn't get any of them done. And you just had this feeling of dread and doom. And it all sort of involved, I don't know, like not being able to leave your house, or you didn't want to be in contact with other people, or you were feeling invisible, right? So then that could feel like a certain level of pain and dread. And then what we do is we try to right that and we try to fix it. And then if we fix it by reaching out to someone who might not be the safest person, that can trigger us into another spiral because the feelings associated with being around a toxic person can spiral us down even farther. The short answer to that question is your subconscious believes that you are in a decreasingly safe environment. You were safer, and then it's getting unsafe. It's getting less safe and less safe and less safe. Remember, CPTSD, in order to heal CPTSD, we have to feel all of our feelings: anger, sadness, pain, joy, excitement, you know, good feelings and bad feelings. We have to feel all of the feelings, right? And we must establish and maintain healthy boundaries with toxic individuals who trigger us back into a traumatized state. Our subconscious needs to feel safe and seen and heard. So if we can find ways to feel seen and heard in the context of safety, then we heal. The moment that we're unable to be seen and heard, which also would be validated, and the moment that that gets taken away, especially in the context of safety, then we will spiral. We will spiral. And remember, if you have subsequent trauma, it always triggers you back to the anchor trauma. And so you just have to work your way through again. It might feel like it knocks you down farther and farther and farther. But if that is the case, then one of those three things is coming into play. Either you're feeling invisible, you're feeling unheard, which means that you feel unimportant, or you're feeling unsafe. Like you might be feeling seen and heard, but it's not in a safe place. You might feel safe, but you might feel invisible. You might feel like you're seen and that you're safe, but no one's listening to you and they don't believe you. So those three things need to happen, right? We need to feel seen, we need to feel heard, and we need to feel safe. We need to feel seen and heard in the context of safety in order to heal CPTSD symptoms. Because if we can feel safe in a safe environment and we can be seen and heard, then that means that our reality is being validated. We're being believed by others. We're not being minimized, invalidated, or told that our truth isn't true. We're able to heal at an exponential rate when we're around others who see us, hear us, and provide safety, right? So it's one of those things, Joey. That would be the only answer I would have. If you feel safe all the time and you feel like you're in a safe environment and you're around safe people and you feel seen and heard and you just get to be yourself and you don't have to put on any airs and sort of like contort yourself to fit into like someone else's box, and you still feel like you're sliding downhill and it's a bit worse than the time before, then I'm at a loss. I'm not sure. Because if you're feeling seen and heard in the context of safety, then that means we're able to feel what it is that we're feeling and we're able to experience validation. And you couple that with being able to move your body in a way that feels safe, you're able to receive the proper trauma-informed care. I mean, it all plays together. Showing up for ourselves on a daily basis. Showing up for ourselves on a daily basis, which is why our daily calls are so powerful. Because when you show up for yourself on a daily basis, you're being seen. You're feeling heard. It's a safe space. And it happens over and over and over and over again every single day. Then your subconscious relaxes and we spiral out of control less often. So I hope that was helpful. I know I've been in that position and it's really, really, really frustrating and it's discouraging. So I hope that that was helpful for you. Heroes Don't Wear Capes says, oh, hold on. I'm going to take a drink of water first because I'm getting a little bit sore. Ew, right? Empty. I drank it all. It's all gone. Heroes Don't Wear Capes says, I have no inner protector, but also intellectually, I know that I need to want to keep myself safe. But I feel I just have no real desire to. People telling me that I should want to be safe makes me want to be safe only to please them, though. What's up with that? Well, my answer to this, Heroes Don't Wear Capes, is I have water. Heroes Don't Wear Capes, who told you when you were younger, during childhood, through words, actions, or withholding of love, either that you didn't need to be safe or that you were not safe. So sit with that. I'm Heroes Don't Wear Capes, and I'm asking myself, who told me when I was a child, through words, actions, or withholding of love, that I was not safe, or that I never would be safe, or I didn't need to be safe. Safety was unattainable. And there's your answer. That is likely the voice, whoever that person is that I just described, is the voice of your inner critic convincing you that safety is really just not necessary. And they're sabotaging you. Your overactive inner critic is sabotaging you. So it's self-sabotage, which totally happens a lot with CPTSD. It just does. And it also causes us to isolate a lot, because people pleasing is exhausting. So we end up isolating, right? So let me know. Answer that question. I'm Heroes Don't Wear Capes, and I want to know who told me through words, actions, or withholding of love that I was not safe, safety was not possible, safety was not a reality, or I didn't need to be safe, or I never would be safe. There's your answer. I hope that was helpful. I'm not sure if it was helpful. I'm feeling like it might not have been helpful, because you even said that people telling me that I should want to be safe makes me want to be safe only to please them. So I'm sort of stuck over here because I'm the person who's trying to help you feel safe. So I'm sorry, but I'm not telling you that you should. I'm not shoulding you all over the place. I'm not saying you should want to be safe. I'm saying you need safety. I'm saying we as humans need safety. We need safety. We need love. We need acceptance. We need to be seen and heard. We need to be safe. We need it in order to function, especially if we're healing. Healing's impossible without safety. So let me know. I mean, think about like a little bird. Like, let's say there's a little bird that has a broken wing or an injured wing. Unless that bird is kept safe, there's going to be someone that comes along and eats it or pecks at it. You know, like sometimes if there's an injured bird, the other birdies peck at the injured bird and just peck at the injured bird. Or like unless someone is trying to keep that birdie safe, then it will never be able to heal. It needs sustenance and rest to heal. So we have all kinds of different birds here, and they're like my most favorite. You guys know I love my birdies. And so I have a particular family of birdies called the Franklins. And it's not that I named them the Franklin family, but they're the species of bird is called Franklin. And one of my Franklins has an injured foot. My husband calls him Wounded Knee. Hilarious. But there's always one other Franklin with Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee doesn't come by himself. There's always this other Franklin that comes with Wounded Knee. And this other Franklin chases after the other birds and keeps them away from Wounded Knee so Wounded Knee can eat. And then this other Franklin walks away with Wounded Knee so that he's protected, because he needs to heal. He's not going to heal unless he's protected and safe. So that's the best analogy I have. I hope it was helpful. Vi says, I have a 9 ACEs score, affected all life things, but because people cared, I built resilience. And when people care, it seems very healing. What other things can build resilience? Ooh. Well, that's a good question. And I honestly feel like it could, if it's okay with you, Vi, I honestly feel like that question could be a video about building resilience, like a separate video about building resilience, because the resilience score on the ACEs website is separate from the ACEs score. So maybe the videos could go together like in tandem. I would prefer to record a different video and like refer to this video and then refer people to that video. So if you're watching this video and it's not November 5th, 2018, it's actually after that, then look for a video on this channel called like ways to build resilience in the context of ACEs and CPTSD, healing from CPTSD or something like that. So if you're okay with that, Vi, that's how I would like to handle that, because there are many different ways we can build resilience, and I think it would be a great discussion to have. So hopefully that's okay. Nexus says, how to love yourself when you weren't taught these skills as caregivers were emotionally absent. So Nexus, I hope you're still here, because I know we're a few minutes over on our video tonight. But two of the most basic ways that I have been able to love myself. First of all, I just want to validate how painful and frustrating and hard it is to learn to love yourself, especially when you see all these videos and memes and things and t-shirts and stuff and books telling you that you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. If you don't love yourself first, then you're never going to be able to love anybody else. And it's just so frustrating, because you're like, what does that even look like? I wasn't even taught to love myself. I have no idea what you're even talking about. And so it can be very, very, very frustrating. So I just first want to validate how frustrating it is to hear over and over and over again how much you need to love yourself. So right? So I struggle with this, okay? Because as I was sharing earlier, I've wrestled with bouts of self-loathing, and I was suicidal, and I was having audible hallucinations, visual hallucinations, and I basically had a traumatic break with reality and just wanted to die, and that was less than 5 years ago. So here I am, and the way I did it, kind of like during our daily call earlier, one of our community members talked about putting one foot in front of the other. When we show up for ourselves on a daily basis, like we do on the daily calls, and like many of you do in the free groups that we offer through CPTSD Foundation, something magical happens. You get this thing called muscle memory, and to me, there's three things. I know I said two, but I'm changing it to three. So Nexus, this is for you, okay? Number one, patience, like being patient with yourself, not rushing yourself, giving yourself as much time as you need to do individual tasks, whether that's brushing your teeth or washing your face or washing your hair, or, you know, any type of grooming, or preparing a meal for yourself, like patience, just patience. You know, you deserve real food, not fast food. You deserve to brush your teeth, not just use mouthwash. You deserve to wash your hair, not just use dry shampoo. You deserve to wash your body, not just use baby wipes. Like, I'm saying all these things not because you tell me that you eat fast food, use dry shampoo, only use mouthwash, and you use baby wipes instead of taking a shower. I'm saying all those things because those are all things I have personally struggled with, and my clients have struggled with as well. So ways that we can learn self-love are, I'm not saying don't use baby wipes to clean yourself in between showers if showers are triggering for you. I'm not saying don't use mouthwash if brushing your teeth is triggering for you. I'm not saying don't use dry shampoo if washing your hair is triggering for you. I'm not saying don't ever eat fast food, you know, ever. I'm just saying that implementing actual meal preparation, showers, baths, you know, really taking time to take care of yourself and taking care of your body in a way that feels safe to you, finding ways to do those things, being patient with yourself, allowing yourself to take as long as you need to find your keys, as long as you need to balance your checkbook, as long as you need to go for a walk, leave your desk at work and go for a walk outside, or as long as you need to sleep. Don't wake yourself up. Don't force yourself to only sleep 5 hours a night. Get as much rest as you want. Be patient with yourself in drinking as many glasses of water as you can a day because you need that hydration. Being patient with yourself on limiting contact with toxic people, you know, establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries, and not forcing yourself to rush all the time. Being patient That's number one. That was one of the things that I had to apply. That was one of the first practical ways that I could learn to love myself. All those things I just said, they all applied to me. Okay, that was number one. Number two, being kind to myself. And what that meant is auditing my self-talk. What was I saying to myself? And if we're being honest, and I really was listening to the things I was saying to myself, I'm embarrassed to even share with you what they were. I was repeating my dad's words to me, that I was clumsy and chubby and fat and stupid and ugly and dumb and whatever. And I was repeating my mother's words to me about how I should have been aborted and, I was unwanted and, or that, I'm annoying. And I really needed to audit my self-talk. I had to be kind to myself. I had to do my best to talk to myself in a way that was congruent with how I would talk to other people. So that's number two. Okay. And if you can't do number two or number three, and you can only do one thing, get around other people who have lived through some things that you've lived through. You don't have any money. It doesn't cost you anything. You can get welcomed into one of our free groups. There's a vetting process. They're safe enough people. And if you can't do number two or number three, you can only do one thing. Get into a group of people who will reflect back to you what they see in you. You can't think good thoughts about yourself. You don't know how to love yourself yet. You're not able to be patient with yourself. You're not able to audit your self-talk and be kind to yourself in practical ways. Then at the very, 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 very least, I know you show up here on Mondays and we're all reflecting back to you how amazing you are. But if you can do that more than once a week and be in a group of others, virtually or in person, whichever is better for you, whichever works. I have virtual groups. I don't have in-person groups yet, but people who will reflect back to you what they see in you. People who will reflect back to you the magnificence that is you. You're healing. You're showing up for yourself. You're doing more for others than you even realize just by being here every week. And you're kind to others and you show up and you ask questions and you're involved in your trauma recovery journey. It's amazing to me. So if you can't be patient and you can't be kind, at least get in a group of other people who will reflect back to you what they see in you until you can be patient and kind with yourself. That's the way we can love ourselves if we weren't taught. That's the best and probably one of the only ways I've found that works. Hopefully that was helpful. Francesca says, it seems that the whole world has been exposed to ACEs, as I find when I am out in the world. I don't see many examples of healthy functional behavior. There is a continuum. I feel I fall at the severe end of the continuum and am just realizing how affected I have been by my family's and the world's dysfunctionality. Yeah, it is so hard. It is really, really, really hard. I just want to validate that, Francesca. There is a lot of dysfunction going on in the world. There really is. I'm not going to argue that point at all. I think you're absolutely right. And I personally have suffered and have experienced the continuum in a similar place that you have described, which is on the darker end of the continuum. The severity of dysfunction that I have been subjected to and that I have experienced in my life is unfathomable to a lot of people. So I think my encouragement to you is to continue doing everything that you're doing and continue as often as possible, Francesca, to seek light, because light attracts light. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that if we are seeking functional relationships over time as we heal, we will find what we are seeking. There's a saying, and I forget the author that said it, but it's called like attracts like. He says like attracts like. And so what that means, what he's talking about is like for people in like the business world, people in business, if they tend to find themselves being like lowballed by their clients, then they need to show up in the world differently and not lowball other people when they're trying to, you know, pay for services. Or if you find yourself being around certain people, and it's not something that we can really control at first because it's all we know. It takes a while to learn how to be healthy. I didn't realize I was the unsafest person in the room until I was like, oh, wow. And I look back at like just the way I behaved and the way I talked to myself and the way I acted toward myself, the way I talked to others, the way I showed up in the world. And I'm like, wow, that is really indicative of the level of trauma and adverse childhood experiences that I was marinated in for so many years of my life. If we're marinated in it, it gets in us and on us. And the good news is that my husband uses this analogy, and then I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you for the night, you guys. He says, if you have a glass filled with dirty water, the way that you get clean water into this glass isn't by dumping out all the dirty water. You pour clean water into the glass for as long as it takes to flush out the dirty water. I was filled with dirty water from a dysfunctional upbringing. And the way that I got that out of me wasn't by emptying myself out and then just showing up empty. I needed to pour in clean water for as long as it took to flush out all the dirty water. And I still have some dirty water in me. I don't think I've arrived. I don't think I'm someone that's like, I arrived, I figured it all out. I'm healed. You guys are the ones that are broken. Good luck. Like, that's never, ever my stance. Like, I'm healing right alongside you guys. I'm here showing up and letting you know I've experienced adverse childhood experiences. I've grown up in dysfunction. I have a perfect 10 on the ACEs. I have found ways to be resilient, which we'll talk about in another video. Thank you, Vi, for the excellent question. And it's the only question I didn't answer tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that on a different video. But I just wanted to thank you guys. And again, if you want to have conversations like these every single day, please go to cptsdfoundation.org and look for a button that says daily calls. If you want to get involved in our book club, it's amazing. It's only $5 and it benefits our scholarship fund, which provides trauma-informed resources to people out there who are unemployed or don't have access to trauma-informed resources. And we desperately need money in our scholarship fund so that we can provide that to people. And if you're a practitioner or a trauma survivor and you're interested in learning about self-care and taking excellent care of yourself so that you can show up in the world in the most optimum way and help other people, then you can go to selfcarecruise.com, or there should be something on the website pretty soon this coming week talking about the self-care cruise. And if all of that is just too much for you to think about or consider, then please just sign up to receive free emails or click on free safe groups on the website, cptsdfoundation.org. And just thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here, for supporting one another in the chat box. Thank you for showing up in the comment section in a way that is a blessing to others and that is kind and patient towards others and helpful. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, I pray and hope that you will click the subscribe button and click the little bell to receive notifications whenever I put out a new video. And if you're interested in like day in the life of type of videos, like vlogs, like a little bit more personal and not so professional or like screen share and all of that, then I have another YouTube channel, and it's called, it's youtube.com/mostly Athena. And it is, I haven't put any content up yet, but I'm going to. I have somebody helping me and they're working on it. So, but thank you guys so much. You guys are just the hugest part of my world, and I couldn't do any of this without you. And I'm just beyond grateful. So please take care of yourselves this week and find a way to just show up for yourself and be kind to yourself and be patient with yourselves. And at the very, very, very least, find a way to be around other people like the people you find here on this channel, who will reflect back to you the goodness that is in you. And then you will see it and you'll begin to feel it over time. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. We'll do another video on the topic of resilience, and we'll talk about your resilience score over at aces2high.com. And this discussion about adverse childhood experiences is something that's very, very, very near and dear to my heart. And I'm contemplating and in the midst of sort of getting involved here locally where I live, raising awareness about adverse childhood experiences. So just thank you. Thanks for being here. You guys are just so amazing. And gosh, there's still like 40 of you here. It's insane. I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you back here same time next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on this YouTube channel. So thanks so much, everybody. Bye.